Good evening, a very warm welcome to you. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. I'm Ruth Aguela. We're starting with the latest update on COVID-19. Nigeria recorded its lowest number of confirmed coronavirus infections in 2 months as the Nigeria Center for Disease Control announced 304 new confirmed cases for the 2nd of August 2020. The 304 new cases are reported from 15 states. Lagos has 81, FCT 39, Abia 31, Kaduna 24, Rivers 23, Plateau 16, Cross River 13, Ebonyi and Ondo 12 cases each, Ekiti and Ondo 11 cases each, Benue and Nasarawa 10 cases each, Ogun 6, while Gombe recorded 5 new cases. On the state's case chart, Lagos maintains the highest with 15,267 cases, followed by the FCT with 3,972 cases, while Oyo is third with 2,768 cases. So far, 43,841 cases have been confirmed, 20,308 cases have been discharged, and 888 have been discharged in the 36 states and the FCT. Let's look at other issues. More than 200 women and vulnerable households in Taraba State have benefited from donations by the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs in partnership with United Women, a non-governmental organization. Let's hear from Joseph Zena Agambo.
The federal government, through its ministries, agencies and parastatals, as well as other collaborating partners, have stepped up responses, especially in the provision of personal protective equipment, food and non-food items, and medical equipment to cushion the impact of the coronavirus. Women and vulnerable households in Taraba State are the latest beneficiaries.
It is my humble appeal to other global agencies, corporate organizations, and individuals never to relent, to support.
The State Commissioner, Ministry of Women and Child Development, Awa Kinwen, appreciated the federal government for identifying Taraba State among the 6 benefiting states in the first phase of the intervention.
As leaders, honestly, we are very happy for the items being given to us. We thank God, and also thank the government for the gifts.
Items donated include bags of rice, detergent, among several others. In Jalingo, Joseph Zanagambo, NTA.
Right, let's head to Lagos to join Ruth for more stories on Nationwide. Ruth, it's your turn.
Thank you, Ruth. It has been said, I take that again. Authorities at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos have heightened COVID-19 preventive measures to further guarantee safety. Michael Olaleye reports that passengers have fully adjusted to the new protocol.
The Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos might not be able to reach its 7.3 million passengers traffic recorded last year. But the optimism among air travelers is the return of flight operations even in the face of the dreaded coronavirus. It is 1 month since man must fly amidst the coronavirus pandemic, and not in the widest imagination of Phillips Onowu will he have thought that a time will come when face masks and hand sanitizers will be a prerequisite for traveling, just like the airfare tickets and passports. He, however, commended the measures put in place to contain the virus.
It's safe to play like this. There's no reason to panic. I thought I was going to come in. This is the first time I'm flying since after the lockdown, and I thought I was going to come in and see a lot of stress. But it's just straightforward. Just wash your hands, they take your temperature, and then you're going.
It's evident that the authorities are trying to focus on social distancing. You can't fly without a mask. So I think they've taken the necessary measures that are globally accepted currently for flying.
Unlike when the airport was newly reopened for flight operations, authorities have now included fumigation of luggages.
And everything is in order. As far as I'm concerned, it's just today I'm coming to the airport now, and I feel very proud of it, really. I think they have tried. And everything looked very nice, looked very new, looked super, you know. It is a local airport, and I'm just coming from US, and I think it's comparable to the local, although it's not glamorous, but from the COVID-19 standpoint, it's very nice.
Although data released by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control indicates a 3-day consecutive decline of COVID-19 cases in Nigeria, but the need for more sensitization was stressed by travelers.
It's me and you thing. It's not just the government. It's involved you, everybody together. We will have a safer environment, because some people are not really aware. Some people think the government is joking, but the truth is the virus is out there, and it's together thing we can. We won't stop preaching. That's COVID. Stay safe, wash your hands, sanitize. We won't stop.
As the world seeks for a cure for coronavirus, the commencement of domestic flight operations remains the litmus test that will invariably determine the modalities for the restart of international flights. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NTA News.
And away from the airport, it has been said that the youth are the future leaders of a nation. And for a country like Nigeria, with rich cultural heritage, different ethnic groups and languages, the role of youth in promoting a united nation, especially at a time like this, cannot be overemphasized. Those were the submissions of some cultural enthusiasts at a press briefing on the way forward for Nigerian youths. Annie Daniels reports.
Nigeria is a peculiar country with more than 250 ethnic groups. Previous governments, in trying to promote a national unity, introduced several programs, including the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC. These concerned Nigerians argue that, though the scheme has recorded a success, more needs to be done.
On one side, you get the issue of religion becoming a threat to our national unity. And on one side, you also get the tribal aspect of it as becoming yardstick to our progress as a nation.
The government took a very good initiative by appointing a 40-year-old young man as an ambassador and did the ambassador committee. The youth of this country, I know then they can bring out the cure for COVID-19.
They are therefore advocating a reality TV show called Nigerian Unity House, where youths from all over the country will come together, exhibit their cultural and traditional know-how, learn more, and take up the campaign of fostering unity in diversity, translating to strong and viral Nigeria.
Only people we will not accept in the house is anyone with the attitude that is repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. You come, you must have a result. You must have something to tell us how we can better this country.
We're bringing about this orientation of know your roots, because when you know your roots, you will know how to affect the society positively.
Those concerned Nigerians are optimistic that, matching words with action, those attributes that distinguish the various elements of the nation will be put to effectual use. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
And from here, it's back to Ruth in Abuja for more on Nationwide.
Thank you very much, Namesake. But let's pause for some messages. We're back shortly. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying with us. After careful assessment of COVID-19 situation put at zero level of infection, Jigawa State Government has directed entire civil servants to resume work from Tuesday this week. Now, this is coming as Governor Badaru Abubakar approved the reopening of schools and phases. Awal Mohammed Kazawari would tell us more.
The resumption of the state civil servants followed the 16 days without any reported case of COVID-19, and there is no single patient on admission in all the isolation centers in the state. Governor Muhammad Badaru Abubakar says the State Ministry of Health will provide face masks, hand sanitizers, and washing hand points at all government offices to avoid the resurgence of the virus.
We will monitor the behavior of all civil servants and will act swiftly on any person violating the COVID-19 control protocols. The strategy in Jigawa State is to start gradual and scale up school reopening over coming weeks. In conformity with the above strategy and in line with the federal government guidelines on school reopening, we will open between 3 to 5 schools in each senatorial zone.
On school reopening, the governor says 40 schools will be. In the first phase, there will be 10 each for primary, junior secondary, senior secondary, and private schools. The governor appreciated traditional religious leaders and people of the state for adhering to COVID-19 protocols during the just concluded Salah activities. From Duse, Awal Muhammad.
And more on schools reopening. Well, you know it is official as schools are now expected to open in a phase-by-phase structure, starting tomorrow as the commencement of preparations for scheduled national examinations for pupils in exit classes. Well, we're expecting a guest to discuss this issue, but let's head to Port Harcourt right away to join Diba Bari. We'll be back for that.
And welcome to Port Harcourt. School authorities in Rivers State are currently embarking on cleanup exercise in response to the directive of the state government to make the environment safe for commencement of academic activities. This is just as students in the exit classes are poised to return to school to complete the academic cycle. Kingsley Amajiri reports.
Fortune Gift is among thousands of students in Rivers State waiting for the school gates to open to enable them sit for their exit examination.
I'm 100% ready for the school resumption. I'll be reading Bible so I can pass my junior WAEC.
Only last week, the state government distributed health and other non-pharmaceutical kits to school principals to enable them clean up the environment preparatory to the school resumption. When NTA News visited some of the schools, our crew caught up with the State Commissioner for Education, Professor Kaniye Ebeku, monitoring the cleanup exercise.
The attitude of the government of this state is that we should get our students back to the schools, except the environment is welcoming, except the environment is conducive. And that's precisely what we are doing.
Barring any unforeseen circumstances, and with the schools expected to clean up their environment this week, there are strong indications that schools in Rivers State would be reopening next week. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
Despite the increasing cases of COVID-19 across the globe and Nigeria in particular, some persons are throwing caution to the wind, neglecting the COVID-19 safety protocols. For instance, the initial rush for safety medical consumables like hand sanitizers has gradually reduced. Diong Umo in this report finds out reasons for the decline in Akwa Ibom State.
Hand sanitizers have always been important medical cosmetics used for the prevention of infectious diseases long before the COVID-19. However, since the coronavirus pandemic, the purchase of hand sanitizers got to its peak as NCDC and other relevant agencies reeled out safety protocols to curtail the spread of the deadly virus. In recent times, it has been observed that the demand for hand sanitizers has gradually declined despite the steady increase of confirmed cases of COVID-19 across the nation.
Hand and rub it. If I have a visitor that comes into my house, I give the visitor using his hand another people enter inside my house.
Even my face mask, I only use it maybe when I want to communicate with someone. I used to put it in the pocket. Besides, COVID-19 is now for entire Africa.
What then could be responsible for this nonchalant attitude towards prescribed safety measures?
I think the general phobia that we had at the emergence of COVID-19 has actually gone down.
Nigerians must take responsibility for their health and abide by all COVID-19 rules, including the use of hand sanitizers regularly. In Uyo, Emediomo, NTA News.
The drastic impact of coronavirus pandemic is adversely undercutting the economic livelihood of many low-income earners in the state. Jenny Bass reports that the people are calling for effective strategy to address financial threats to ensure economic stability.
Since the first announcement of the index case of COVID-19 in Rivers State, things have not remained the same in the state. This is just one out of many cases of the impact of COVID-19 restriction order on the livelihood of people. Residents who depend on daily income are the most affected. Nuru Salami, a vulcanizer, shares his experience on how the pandemic has affected his business.
The business run down more, the business know they move as in day before. Maybe government help us now, make it help us open to market.
Salami is not in this alone. Mary Olisa, a cloth seller whose business thrives more during public functions, has this to say.
The business is no more going well. So everything is upside down.
For now, people are complaining there is no money. So they'll spend their money a lot in this COVID-19.
The future is bleak as the situation is likely to linger until a cure for coronavirus is found. However, they are hopeful that given the proactiveness of the federal and state government, including the support from well-meaning Nigerians and organizations, the end of coronavirus pandemic will soon be in sight. In Port Harcourt, Jenny Bassi, NTA News.
And that does it from Port Harcourt. It's back to Ruth in Abuja. Good evening.
Thank you, Dibabari. Regulators charged with conducting elections have been urged to ensure they mitigate the inclination to violence already playing out ahead of the governorship poll in Edo State. Guest on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria urged all political parties to go beyond paying lip service to peaceful elections by proactively engaging their followers to genuinely commit to a seamless process or be ready to face the law. Lydia Sampson will tell us more.
Edo election is already dominating the media, ironically with skirmishes of violence. Guests on Good Morning Nigeria from the two leading political parties say they are committed to peaceful conduct of the September 19th poll, but admitted that what is playing out is generating concern. The guests advocated enforcement of the law to impress it on politicians that crime or assault at any time has consequences before, during, and after elections.
All we can but tell our people at this time is to go all out, sell your manifestos in a peaceful, responsible manner to the Edo people.
We are not involved and will never be involved in anything that will be violent during an election. We believe in one man, one vote.
The Edo State Commissioner of Police assured that the police is engaging all key players towards peaceful conduct of the governorship election.
We are not leaving the communities out of it. We are not leaving the traditional rulers out of it. We are engaging different groups of people within in policing. So, and beyond that, we also have the ISIS. The ISIS, this is an interagency security consultative committee.
We need to wear out the politicians, and the way to wear them out so that they don't have too much time for incendiary rhetoric is to make this issue big.
With candidates and parties striving to prove a point, some of the guests reiterated the need for empowerment of traditional, religious and community leaders to own the process by playing the role of impartial arbiters to educate the populace for the overall good of society. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Still talking politics, stakeholders of the All Progressives Congress in the Southeast, particularly in Imo State, have reached a consensus to uphold the desire to protect, expand and sustain the party's victory in the zone. The unanimous decision by the stakeholders was reaffirmed at a press briefing in Abuja. Saliu Abdullahi reports.
Since the inauguration of APC's National Caretaker and Extraordinary National Convention Committee, intra-party peace building among members has remained top on the agenda. Therefore, the quest for political stability in Imo State and the desire to sustain the resuscitated infrastructural development under the Buhari-led administration across the country, particularly in the southeast, informed this decision.
We also encourage all members of the party to discontinue all legal suits as resolved by the last NEC meeting and supported by His Excellency, President Muhammad Buhari. We, the stakeholders of the party, as a party faithful, shall continue to support our APC-led government of His Excellency, Governor Hope Uzodinma, Governor Mala Buni-led National Caretaker Committee, and we will continue to support the President Muhammad Buhari-led administration.
They unanimously agreed to take up the task of expanding the scope of APC with support to its leaders at all levels of government. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullah.
All right. The Nigeria Governors Forum has expressed solidarity with the government and people of Borno State following last Wednesday's attack by gunmen suspected to be members of the Boko Haram sect. A statement by the forum's chairman and governor of Ekiti State, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, says it remains strongly behind Borno State and its people over the senseless attack and sympathizes with the injured. The forum appealed for coordinated operations to rid the country of all forms of unlawful armed attacks and promised to meet with the federal government to review the present security architecture. Progressive governors pay solidarity visit to Governor Zulum in Maiduguri. Let's get more details as we join Abubakar there for other stories also. Abubakar.
It's good to see you, Ruth, and thanks for joining us. The Progressive Governors Forum has reaffirmed its position not to relent in supporting Borno State government in its quest to bring to an end the lingering security challenge. Chairman of the forum and Governor of Kebbi State, Atiku Abubakar Bagudu, made this known while on a sympathy visit to Professor Babagana Umara Zulum over the attack on his convoy in Baga Town, Kukawa local government area of Borno State. Yagum Subukar has more details.
The governors were in Maiduguri on solidarity with their colleague, Governor Babagana Umar Zulum, who came under attack in Baga Town in Kukau local government last Wednesday. Progressive Governors Chairman and Governor of Kebbi State, Atiku Abubakar Bagudu, while commiserating with government and people of Borno, urged Professor Babagana Umar to continue with the hard work he is known for, assuring to support him in his quest to see to the end of Boko Haram crisis ravaging the state.
The Nigerian security agencies have been doing the very best they could, but what we are saying and what everyone has been saying, please do more.
Professor Babagana Umara had, while appreciating the Progressive Governors Forum for the show of concern to his administration, re-echoed his determination to return internally displaced persons to liberated communities and assured to remain resolute.
Why is that the insurgency is not ending? There is a sabotage in the system. And therefore, there's need for the President to examine the current security situation in the region with a view to resolving it in a sustainable manner.
Governor Babagana Umara stressed that Borno State has a huge population that depends on agricultural production, hence his visit to local governments to fast-track the return of displaced to pick up their means of livelihood. In Maiduguri, Yagum Subukar, NTA News.
Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, has commended President Muhammadu Buhari for his support to the Nigerian Army in the last 5 years, where it witnessed rapid advancement in terms of equipment loading, infrastructural development, and welfare of troops. General Buratai gave the commendation through the Chief of Training and Operations of the Nigerian Army, Major General Enobong Udo, who represented him at the Chief of Army Staff 2020 Eid al-Kabir Salah luncheon with troops of Super Camp 14, Damasak in northern Borno. Memuna Garba reports.
General Buratai had expressed happiness with Operation Lafia Dole's successes over Boko Haram criminals, their international and local collaborators,
as well as auxiliaries, stressing that more needs to be done to maintain control over the liberated territories and to fully establish government authority in all areas within the Northeast region. He also stressed the need for troops to remain focused to ensure the defeat of the terrorists and resist any attempt by the criminals to re-establish control in the liberated areas. The Chief of Army Staff reminded troops that additional vehicles and fighting equipment have been injected into the theater in the last 1 year, and that the Nigerian Army has taken additional delivery of new weapons and armaments of different calibers that will soon see action. The Army boss acknowledged the resilience, selfless service, and doggedness of troops of Army Super Camp 14 Damasak in particular, and 5 brigades in general, for securing their area of responsibility in the face of daunting terrorist threats.
You must also step up efforts at dominating and protecting road Damasak, Kareto, Gubio, and road Damasak, Garonda, Guduvali, which have been made major supply routes used by the Boko Haram criminals.
Commander Multinational Joint Task Force in Jamena, Major General Ibrahim Manu Yusuf, appreciated the unity of purpose amongst troops of MNJTF and commended the troops' gallantry in the counter-terrorism operations, both as part of Sector 3 Nigeria and MNJTF Jamena. In Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
You're on to Nationwide from Maiduguri. Ruth in Abuja has more stories for us on Nationwide. So, Ruth, it's back to you now.
Thank you, Abubakar. President of the Senate, Ahmad Lawan, has congratulated the Deputy President of the Senate, Ovie Omoagege, as he turned 57. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President of the Senate on Media and Publicity, Ola Awoni. Senator Lawan rejoices with the Deputy President of the Senate, his family, friends and political associates for good health and illustrious life. Senator Lawan observed that since the election as presiding officers in the 9th Senate, Omoagege has brought to bear sterling qualities to their onerous task of providing leadership for the execution of the legislative agenda of the August Assembly. He wishes the Obarisi of Urobuland many more years of fruitful service of God and country. Let's look at other issues. The Federal Road Safety Corps has commenced legal action against a tricycle rider who was seen destroying FRSC patrol vehicle in a viral video recorded along Sapele Road, Benin, Edo State. A statement by the Corps reveals that the disciplinary committee investigating the incident has also recommended reduction in rank for the 7-man patrol team members involved in the incident, in addition to the Court Marshal's directive for their redeployment from their present command. The Court Marshal warns personnel that in the discharge of their duties, they must ensure maximum civility even under provocation. He, however, cautions that the Corps will not relent in prosecuting anyone who assaults its personnel or damage any of its property and installations nationwide. All right, earlier we wanted to start a conversation on reopening of schools. Well, we're going to have that conversation right now. We have joining us Professor Ashom Mesamari from the Faculty of Education, University of Abuja, who will shed more light on the preparation of schools reopening. Thank you very much, Prof, for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, now, Prof, you have seen the federal government's new structure on it's varied, talking about the reopening of schools, beginning with students whose national examinations are the closest. Now, what will be your assessment of the guidelines already put in place, and what will this likely, impact on the reopening of schools?
Indeed, we have to congratulate the federal government for putting in all the guidelines in order to ensure the safety of the students as they return to school, particularly the exiting set to write their examinations. The issues that I think I would want to talk briefly on is how to take care of these students as they go in. We are so grateful that arrangements are already on ground to ensure that students are tested on arrival to ensure that they are COVID-19 free. But beyond that, we really need to know that the students maintain all the protocols. Some schools may be well prepared for this, but I want to believe some schools might not be. And and government should ensure that schools both at the rural areas and in the urban centers are equally taken care of alike. Attention should not just be in areas that are accessible, but the inaccessible communities where there are schools and they will be writing exams should be taken care of. Like I observe and I've read, some states, Ogun State in particular, have recommended that students will have to pay for their tests before they are admitted to ensure that they are COVID-19 negative. And when I look at the cost, and that is where the issue now comes, some of these students, particularly in the rural areas, are actually students that are from poor background. And within 2 weeks, to be able to come out with 25,000 naira for COVID-19 tests, I think it might not be feasible. And moreover, the question I ask is for those that government test, the community testing and other things, do these individuals pay for themselves or it is government that pays for them? And if it is government that pays for such individuals, I think they can do well and do better by paying for these students to have their tests free. Because I believe for lack of the fund, some might not be able to get the test and might miss the examination.
Yes, Prof. Let me cut your thoughts there. I know the Ogun State, the price of the testing is one issue, parents are crying out for. But what would you recommend in terms of boosting confidence? If these are some of the recommendations that has been required, what would be your recommend? What would you recommend, regarding school reopening to boost confidence because schools have to reopen?
I actually do not know the budget of the COVID-19 committee, but I think they can do well to include that one in their own budget so that students that are exiting are actually allowed to take the test on government's budget or government's account. Because leaving it to parents, yes, some would be able to do it, but I am very aware, I'm very sure. Some were not even able to pay for the school fees, for the examination registration. State government had to come in, and if they have to pay for the test, which is much higher than the cost of registration for the examination, a lot will miss out. So I recommend government should come in, either in a way of ensuring they pay for it as a loan so that they pay on taking their result, or giving it as pressure for them.
Okay, and I'm sure, Prof, you would have noticed the provisions on attendance, social distancing, hygiene, and the rest. Now, let's look at attendance and, for instance, considering how populated some of our public schools are, and we know there are limited classrooms for learning. How challenging will issues like this, be? And what would you recommend in order to tackle some of these challenges?
Well, I know that's a huge challenge, but the only good part is that these schools are only being open for the exiting class. So other classes for the juniors classes could be made available for this examination to be conducted in them. And I believe, and that's why I want to strongly advise that before the other students are asked to come to school, they should be ensured that all the exiting classes had taken all their examinations. That's the 3 national examinations, WAEC, NAPTEP, and NECO, so that they are done with before you bring in the rest of the students into the school compound. This will help in decongesting the environment and facilitate the social distance that we recommend.
Okay, Prof, and we know the reopening of schools is for exit classes. Well, schools are still closed officially. That's for those who are not going to be resuming. But we need to keep our pupils engaged in whichever way. How can we rather optimize virtual learning as part of our system in a manner that is accessible, especially for those indigent families?
Now, this becomes the responsibility of the Ministry of Communication to ensure a wider coverage of network beyond cities and towns, so that people in the villages can also benefit. But those of us that are likely to be within network areas, our students, our children have been benefiting. But what about those in the rural areas where these are not accessible? And I'm wondering, if radio coverage can go to all nook and crannies of the country, why wouldn't the service provider be enabled to do the same thing? And I think government has to take the communication ministry very serious to ensure that they expand their coverage and their network.
What about radios and TV stations? What would you suggest? Because some people can't even afford an Android phone to access that network you're talking about.
Well, radio is a very good means of education, but there is a limitation to it. You see, we are talking of children. Children would want to see, they would want to touch. And if hearing alone, we have that all others. When I hear, I forget. The students would not have the capacity to retain what they hear only. They would also need some kind of visualization of what is going on. And that is why the television becomes very necessary. The visual platform becomes very necessary. And government should do a lot to expand, even if it means creating centers in specific rural areas for students to have that kind of facility. That would be better.
Okay, and of course, I know the whole measures put in place and why it's a gradual process, talking about the reopening, is to strike a balance. But how do we strike this balance? If schools are going to be closed, how do we then protect our children, to ensure that they don't regress significantly when we're talking academics, while also protecting them from the coronavirus pandemic?
Government must have to continue to provide the facilities to enable these students to be engaged even in their homes. Like I said, the visual platforms should be.
Your call credit has been exhausted and your call terminated. Dial *606.
Okay, we do apologize for that. We just lost the audio there we were using to get Prof all the way from Jos. But that was actually Professor Ashom Mesa Marie from the Faculty of Education, University of Abuja, talking to us on reopening of schools. All right. Let's look at more issues arising. Just about all families expected children to contribute in some way to family life. Lydia Odichi Ochi examines today's Nigerian parenting style and its consequences on the society.
Karen Louis Obeka is 5 years old. Her brother, King, is 11. To these children, house chores are a normal part of daily activities at home.
I help my mother to cook and wash.
I started cooking when I was 8 years old. Sometimes when my mommy goes to work or goes somewhere and she comes back and she looks tired, I'll just tell her to leave it, let me cook. If you teach them and give them a chance, they'll cook.
Child upbringing is not an easy task. Parents have an important role to play in the home front so as to raise responsible children that will be useful to the family and society at large.
Parents, most of them nowadays do not have much time to take care of their children because of the challenges of the hardship, where they need to fend for their homes. But be it as it may, that is not enough for you not to bring up your children so that they don't constitute a nuisance in the society.
With the growing rate of moral decadence among youths in Nigeria, the need to examine value reorientation has become imperative.
Our social values that we know are no more being respected. In those days, we have respect for elders, but no more respect again today by the young people. Lack of good leadership from the community leaders. In those days, when there is a thief within the community themselves will sit down and fetch him out. But today is no more happening. So these are some of the causes, I would say, that has made this to go up.
Rape, as you can see it, is a symptom, it's a signal that there is failure in the system. There is failure in the parenting, there is failure from the society, there is failure in the law enforcement, there is failure. It's telling you that something somewhere is wrong.
This matter is not just an issue for women and children. It is a social issue that all hands must be on deck.
Pandemics have a bearing on the social fabric of the society. Stress initiated by economic losses often result in visible cracks where incidences of once socially unacceptable norms become more frequent. Aside ensuring domestic chores are completed, Karen has her own wishes just like everyone else.
I want coronavirus to go so that we can go back to school again.
The coronavirus pandemic and the resultant stay-at-home directive, families are spending more time together. A time for parents and caregivers to provide reorientation for youth to develop values and attitudes that will make them contribute meaningfully to national development. Lydia Odije Ochi, NTA News.
Time now to join Sokoto, where Asmau is standing by. Asmau?
Thank you, Ruth. Good afternoon and welcome to Sokoto. Members of the Sokoto State Chapter of Alumni Association of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies have been challenged to always offer useful advice to government at all levels. This came to the fore at the annual meeting of the Sokoto alumni hosted by the Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Saad Abubakar. Sheikh Muhammad Detti reports.
The annual meeting is an avenue for members to interact and discuss on national and state issues with a view to offering useful advice to the government. It is also to review the association's plans and discuss the way forward. Chief host Sultan Muhammad Saad Abubakar said, with 3 generals and the AIG, Sokoto chapter can give meaningful advice on security challenges facing the state. He called on members to cooperate in the fight against banditry by offering meaningful advice. Outgoing chairman of the Sokoto chapter and former governor of Sokoto State, Malam Yahya Abdul Karim, highlighted some of the successes recorded by the chapter. He described as an honor done to the chapter by both federal and state governments as their members have been appointed in different capacities. During the meeting, new executives of the Sokoto chapter emerged with Dr. Abubakar Sokoto Muhammad as the chairman.
There are national problems at the moment, such as the problem of national security, problem of COVID-19, problem of education of out-of-school children, and so many other problems which we shall address.
The meeting resolved to meet periodically to update members on national and state issues. In Sokoto, Sheikh Muhammad Detti, NTA News.
Kebbi State Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu has expressed gratitude to the Oni of Ife, Oba Enitan Adeyeye Ogunwusi Ojaja II, for considering his state among beneficiaries of modular fumigators to fight the spread of COVID-19. The governor, represented by his deputy, Samaila Yombe Dabai, stated this while receiving a delegation of the royal father with the items in Birnin Kebbi. Usman Abdullahi Shehu reports.
Presenting the message of Oni of Ife, the leader of the delegation, who is a professor of public health and head of community health department, Obafemi Awolowo University, Professor Osimwan Olupeju, said the motorized modular fumigation machine has a cabin of about 75 kilograms, 1,000-liter capacity tank, and covers a wide range of 20 to 30 meter radius. She explained that the House of Odudua has other equipment suitable for schools, shopping malls, and worship centers. The professor commended Kebbi State government for its commitment to fight against the spread of the pandemic. The Deputy Governor, Colonel Samaila Yombe Dabai, retired, said the royal gift will be put to use immediately, adding that the government of Kebbi State will also emulate effort of the House of Odudua to fabricate similar equipment to complement Oni's desire to contain the spread of the killer disease.
His Excellency, the Governor of Kebbi State, Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, thank the Oni of Ife for his kind gesture. As I said earlier, he has taken the lead of people, of leaders who really care for his people. And we thank you sincerely.
The delegation has since left Kebbi State. In Birnin Kebbi, Usman Abdullahi Shehu, NTA News.
And that's our package from Sokoto. The news will continue with Ruth in Abuja. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Asmau. Let's take another break. We'll be back shortly. Stay tuned. Thank you for being there. Coconut is a delicious and versatile fruit enjoyed by people all over the world. Well, despite its name, coconut is a type of fruit known as drupe. Nearly 1/3 of the world's population depends on it for nutrition and trade, as every part of the fruit is usable for human needs. And so in this special report, Udwak Etim highlights the economic and health benefits of the coconut to mankind. And with commitment and cultivation, it can contribute to the GDP of the country.
Coconuts are the large seeds of coconut palms, known in botanical name as Cocos nucifera, which grow in tropical climates. Their brown fibrous husk conceal the meat, which is the white edible flesh inside. The fruit, which has recently increased in popularity for its flavor and uses, can also be purchased in the markets or road, as different sizes are always displayed on the table or ground. Although most people eat both the fresh and dried flesh of coconuts because of its sweet taste.
Coconut is nourishing to the body. It's a very good spice in cooking, especially coconut rice. And some people take just the water for calming down the system. Personally, I eat both, the fresh and the dry one, depending on what I'm using to eat. Like the fresh one, I can eat it without anything. But the dry one, I can use it with tapioca, or perhaps I use it to prepare coconut rice.
Even though the sun shines, some people normally feel tasty. So instead of them buying pure water, some people normally like the coconut water.
I like the coconut because it's good. The water will help me because it's like my head is turning somehow. So if I drink it, it's okay for me.
I sell coconut. This one is 200 naira. This one is 100 naira. This one is 150.
Unlike many other fruits which contains vitamins and minerals, coconut is a unique fruit that has a wide range of health benefits.
Because of its bulk nature, it contains a lot of fiber, and that helps in digestion, helps to clear the bowels, and helps to reduce accumulation of unhealthy bacteria. Then it has other functions. One of the important ones is that it helps to increase insulin production in the body, and that helps to reduce blood sugar, and it can help to prevent or delay the development of diabetes, which is common in this environment. It's a very healthy fruit. Natural products are very healthy. And another thing about coconut is that it has its maximum benefit when taken in its natural form. So I encourage it. I eat it a lot in its natural form, and even in rice and other foods. So I advise everybody to take advantage of this commonly available food that has so much health benefits to us.
Having known the role of coconut in food production and raw materials for industry, as well as income generation, the Akwa Ibom state government has recently flagged off the planting of coconut in Ekeya, Okobo local government area, with the intention to meet up with the over 300,000 daily requirements for its coconut refinery project when completed.
And presently, the coconut refinery is about 95% completion. That refinery will need raw materials, that is the input, and which is coconut, and that is why he encouraged all to cultivate coconut. In Akwa Ibom State, we have a coconut plantation in Ikoroba and Eastern Ebolo, which we've cultivated about 2,000 hectares of coconut. And of course, not only in these areas that we have the plantation, we only extend to other local government areas like Kobo local government areas. We are also planting coconut.
Nigerians are encouraged to key into coconut planting for both economic and health benefits. In Uyo, Udwak Etam, NTA News.
So much benefits there, right? Well, let's look at some